Triplets vanish in 2001. 24 years later, their mother finds them at the pharmacy. Sarah Wilson felt her heart race as she spotted the three young blonde women behind the pharmacy counter. It couldn't be real. Her eyes fluttered as she recognized those faces she had carried in her memory for 24 years. The triplets she had lost when they were just 4 years old were right there, wearing white lab coats, helping customers as if nothing had happened. Sarah's hands trembled as she clutched the blood pressure medication she had come to pick up. Emma, Olivia, and Abigail, her babies. Her girls with blue eyes and golden hair like angels were here, grown up beautiful and alive. But they didn't recognize her. They looked at her like any other customer, with polite professional smiles. "Can I help you?" asked one of them, the closest. Sarah noticed a small birthmark on her neck. It was Emma, her firstborn, the one who had arrived first on that cold March dawn in 1997. I need... Sarah's voice came out as a hoarse whisper. How could she explain? How could she say she was standing before the daughter she had searched for over 2 decades? The young woman tilted her head, concerned about the customer who seemed on the verge of fainting. "Are you feeling all right? Should I call someone?" Sarah swallowed hard. She couldn't just blurt out who she was, not like this. Not after so long. The girls clearly didn't know her. Someone had built an entire life for them away from her. What if they didn't want to know the truth? What if they were happy this way? "No, thank you. I just... Do all 3 of you work here together?" "Yes," answered another of the triplets. Stepping closer to the counter, Abigail. Sarah recognized the shape of her eyes, exactly like her own. "We're sisters. We just graduated from pharmacy school at Annapolis University. We're starting out." Here at our uncle's pharmacy, the world seemed to spin around. Sarah, uncle. What uncle? Robert, Michael's brother, had never shown interest in the girls when they were little. In fact, he had always been against her marriage to Michael from the start. Which of your father's brothers? The 3 exchanged uneasy glances. Sarah realized she had asked too personal a question for a stranger. "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have asked that," Sarah quickly corrected, feigning embarrassment. "It's just, you all look so alike. Triplets, right?" "Yes," Emma smiled, relaxing slightly. "Everyone says that. Our Uncle Robert always says we're 3 peas in a pod." Robert, the name confirmed Sarah's worst fears. He had succeeded. After all those years of trying to convince Michael she wasn't a good mother, after all the family fights, he had finally managed to take the girls from her. But how and why had Michael never reached out? "Have you lived here in Lancaster long?" Or "Our lives," answered Olivia, the 3rd sister, who had been organizing shelves. "Our uncle raised us since we were little. We've always lived in the same house on Maple Street." Sarah knew that street. It was a quiet, middle-class neighborhood. At least they'd had a good upbringing. That was a relief. But it also deepened her pain. Why had Robert kept them from her? Why had he built a lie about her existence? And your parents? The silence that followed was heavy. The 3 sisters exchanged uncomfortable looks. "Our mother died when we were very little," Emma answered, softly. "And our father, he couldn't take care of us alone. That's why our Uncle Robert adopted us." The ground seemed to drop beneath Sarah's feet. Died. They thought she was dead. Michael had lied to his own daughters about her existence. Anger and sorrow twisted in her chest like a storm. "I'm so sorry," she managed to whisper, fighting too. "Keep her composure." "Thank you," Abigail smiled softly. "But everything turned out fine." Uncle Robert has always been a wonderful father to us, and we have each other." Sarah watched the three young women interacting naturally as they finished the day's work. It was almost 6 o'clock in the evening, and the pharmacy was preparing to close. They had a routine, a life built together. They seemed happy and united. How could she just show up and destroy everything they knew about their own lives? Do you remember anything from when you were very little? Olivia stopped organizing the medications and looked at Sarah curiously. "A few things. Why do you ask?" "Oh, it's just that I have a niece around your age, and she always says she doesn't remember anything from early childhood. I find these things interesting." "I remember a song," Emma said thoughtfully. "Someone used to sing us a lullaby, something about little birds, but I don't know who it was." Sarah's heart nearly stopped. It was the song she sang to them every night. Little bird, flying free in the blue sky, always finds the nest where it can sleep in peace. She had made up that song herself. "And I remember a sweet smell," Abigail added, "like vanilla perfume, but it might just be my imagination." Vanilla, the perfume Sarah wore religiously back then, her favorite scent, which she bought every month, in the city center. "Interesting," Sarah managed to say, though her voice trembled. "Well, I should be going. Thank you for your time." She left the pharmacy on unsteady legs, without even picking up the medicine she had come for. Outside, she leaned against the wall and finally let the tears fall. 24 years. 24 years of searching, suffering, imagining the worst. And there they were alive, healthy, grown. But they thought she was dead. Michael had lied. Not only had he abandoned her, but he had erased her existence from their daughters' lives. How could he do that? How could he have the nerve to claim she had passed away when she had suffered every day without them? Sarah wiped her face with the back of her hand and tried to think rationally. She needed a plan. She couldn't just walk in and tell them the truth that could traumatize the girls, who clearly loved Robert and saw him as their real father. She had to learn more about the situation, understand exactly what had happened all those years ago. She remembered that terrible night in September 2001. Michael had come home drunk again. The fights were getting worse. He said she was a bad mother, that she was raising the girls wrong, that they'd be better off with his family. Robert, especially, always made cruel remarks about how she cared for the children. That night, Michael yelled that he was taking the girls to his mother's house for a few days, so she could learn to appreciate what she had. Sarah tried to stop him, but he was furious, violent. He shoved her and screamed that he'd come back when she grew up and became a real woman. But he never came back. Neither he nor the girls. Sarah spent weeks calling her mother-in-law's house, going there, begging to see her daughters. Mrs. Thompson said Michael had gone on a business trip and taken the children, that they'd be back soon, but days turned into weeks, weeks into months. When she finally spoke to a neighbor, she learned the house had been empty for a long time. Since then, Sarah had dedicated her entire life to searching for her daughters. She hired private investigators with what little money she had, placed ads in newspapers, went to police stations in nearby towns. She never found even a trace of them, and now she discovered they had been right here in the same area all along. Raised by the brother-in-law who had always despised her, believing she was dead. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing, Sarah drove to her small house on the other side of town with her heart racing. 24 years working as an office cleaner to survive, saving every penny in hopes of one day finding her daughters. 24 years sleeping every night with the photo of the triplets under her pillow. As soon as she got home, she rushed to her room and opened the box where she kept everything related to the girls. Photos, tiny clothes that still smelled like them, drawings they made in preschool, birth certificates. Everything was there, preserved like sacred relics. She picked up her favorite photo, the 3 girls wearing identical lilac dresses. She had sewn herself for their 4th birthday. They smiled sweetly at the camera, hugging each other, happy. It was exactly how she had seen them today at the pharmacy, only 20 years older. That night, Sarah barely slept. For the first time in decades, it wasn't the anguish of uncertainty keeping her awake, but the anxiety of having found her daughters and not knowing how to approach them. How could she tell them the truth without destroying their lives? How could she prove she was alive when everyone believed she was dead? The next day, Sarah took time off work and returned to the pharmacy. She needed to observe more, understand their routine better, and uncover more details about their lives. She pretended to need vitamins and spent a long time choosing products, always listening to the triplets' conversations. Uncle Robert said, "There's a special dinner tonight," Emma commented to her sisters during a lull in customers. "He wants to celebrate our 1st month working here. He's so proud." To us, Olivia smiled. "But he always says we're the rare jewels of the family." "It's true," Abigail agreed. "I remember when we were teenagers and he worked 2 jobs to pay for our private school. He never complained, never said it was a sacrifice." Sarah felt a mix of gratitude and bitterness. On one hand, she was happy Robert had given the girls a good life. On the other, she was furious at being excluded from all of it. They were her daughters. She should have been part of every moment, every achievement, every struggle. "He never married because of you?" asked a customer waiting for medication. "Never," Emma replied. "He always said we were his priority, that his family was complete just like this." The customer smiled, touched by the story. Sarah pretended to read a brochure, but her mind was racing. Robert had sacrificed his own life to raise the girls. That made things even more complicated. How could she blame him when he clearly loved the triplets and had been a good father? But still, it was wrong. She was alive. She was their birth mother. She had a right to be present. Robert and Michael had no authority to make that decision alone. When she left the pharmacy, Sarah made up her mind. She needed to find Michael and learn exactly what had happened that September in 2001. Only with the full story could she decide how to proceed. She started searching for Michael through the connections she knew. She called old mutual acquaintances, asked neighbors who still lived on their old street. Most people had moved away or lost touch, but one old neighbor, Mrs. Jenkins, still lived 2 houses down from where Sarah and Michael had lived. "Sarah, oh my goodness, girl, I thought you'd vanished off the face of the earth," Mrs. Jenkins exclaimed when she appeared at her door. Come in, come in. Would you like some coffee?" "Yes, please, Mrs. Jenkins. And I wanted to ask you something about Michael. Do you know where he's living now?" The neighbor's face turned serious. "Michael, Sarah, dear, you don't know, don't know." "What?" "Michael left 5 years ago. He had a sudden heart attack. It was very sad. Robert handled everything. The wake was at the downtown church. Sarah felt as if she'd been punched in the gut. Michael was gone. There would be no confrontation, no explanations. The man who had separated her from her daughters was no longer in this world to give answers. But where did he live? With whom? Alone, in a tiny house near the municipal market. He lived very isolated. Sarah, after you separated, he was never the same. Drank too much, worked little. Robert always said he was worried about his brother and the girls. Did he talk about the girls? Mrs. Jenkins hesitated, nervously stirring her coffee cup. Sarah, I don't know if I should say this. Please, Mrs. Jenkins, I need to know. Michael, he deeply regretted what he did. In his last years, whenever he drank, he talked about you and the girls. Said he'd made the biggest mistake of his life, that he wanted to fix it, but didn't know how. What mistake? What exactly did he do? He told me once when he was very drunk. Said that night he took the girls, it wasn't supposed to be forever. Just to scare you, to make you miss them and change. But when he got to his mother's house, Robert convinced him it would be better for the children to stay away from you. Sarah felt the world spinning again. Robert convinced him how. Said you were too young, too irresponsible, that the girls needed stability, that you'd end up hurting them. Michael was confused, drinking heavily back then. Robert said he'd handle everything, that it would be temporary, but it was never temporary. No, and when Michael wanted to take them back, Robert said it was too late, that the girls were settled, that it would be cruel to uproot them again, and that you'd moved on and didn't want anything to do with them, that I didn't want anything to do with them. Sarah nearly shouted. I never stopped looking for them. Never, I know, dear. I know Robert lied to Michael just like he lied to the girls about you. Michael found out in his last years, but he was already sick, weak, felt he'd lost the right to be a father when he abandoned his daughters. Sarah began to sob uncontrollably. Michael had regretted it, wanted to make things right, but Robert had manipulated the whole situation, convincing both Michael and the girls of twisted versions of the truth. Mrs. Jenkins, do you think Robert knew I've been searching for the girls all these years? The old woman nodded sadly. I'm sure he knew. You placed ads in the local paper many times, hired that detective who came asking questions. Robert knew everything and chose to stay silent. Now Sarah understood the scale of the lie. Robert hadn't just raised the girls away from her by chance. He'd actively prevented any reunion, crafting a story where she was dead so they'd never look for her. Do the girls know their father passed? They do. They went to the wake, cried so much, poor things. Despite everything, they loved their father. Robert said Michael always spoke of them fondly, but regretted not being a present dad. Another layer of pain. The triplets had lost their real father without ever knowing their mother was alive and searching for them. How many chances to reunite had been lost because of Robert's lies? Sarah returned home with even more questions than answers. Michael was dead, regretful, but dead. Robert had orchestrated the entire separation and kept the lies going for over 2 decades, and the girls lived happily, suspecting nothing. In the following days, Sarah began discreetly observing Robert. She found out where he lived, the same house where the triplets had grown up on Maple Street. He was a man around 60 years old, with graying hair, always well dressed. He worked at a hardware store and seemed respected in the neighborhood. Several times she saw him pick up the girls from the pharmacy after work. They chatted animatedly, laughed together, and seemed like a genuinely happy family. Robert was affectionate with them, protective. He didn't seem like the villain Sarah had imagined. That made everything more complicated. How could she confront a man who clearly loved the triplets and had sacrificed his life to raise them. How could she explain to the girls that the man they considered their father had built their entire lives on a lie? One afternoon, Sarah decided to follow Robert to the store where he worked. She pretended to look for materials for an imaginary renovation and watched him work. He was polite with customers, efficient, and seemed like a good employee. During a break, she overheard him talking to a co-worker about his daughters. "My girls graduated from pharmacy school this year," he said proudly. 3 college graduates. Who would have thought 3 orphans would achieve so much in life? Orphans. The word struck Sarah like a knife. He had truly convinced everyone, even himself, that the girls were orphans. He had completely erased the existence of their real mother. "Did you raise them alone?" the co-worker asked. "Alone since they were 4 years old. Their mother passed when they were little, and their father couldn't take care of them. It was hard at first, but every sacrifice was worth it. They're the light of my life," passed. He was still spreading the lie about her supposed death. How many people in town believed Sarah Wilson had died over 20 years ago? Sarah left the store with a decision made. She needed to confront Robert directly. She couldn't live with that lie any longer, knowing her daughters were so close. But she had to do it carefully, without destroying the life he had built for the triplets. That night, she went to the house on Maple Street and waited for Robert to come home from work. When he parked his car in the garage, she approached. "Robert Miller." He turned, surprised to find a stranger at his gate. "Yes, that's me. Can I help you? My name is Sarah Wilson. I need to talk to you about Emma, Olivia, and Abigail." Robert's face instantly paled. He glanced at the house, checking if the girls were watching, then looked back at Sarah with shock and fear. You can't be here." "But I am, and I'm alive, unlike what you told my daughters." Robert fell silent for a few seconds, processing the situation. Then he motioned for her to follow him to the back of the house, away from the windows. "How did you find us?" "That doesn't matter. What matters is that you lied to them, told them I was dead." "Sarah, you don't understand the situation. Then explain it to me. Explain how you had the nerve to erase my existence from my own daughters' lives." Robert ran a hand over his face, suddenly looking much older. "Michael was destroying their lives and yours, too. You fought every day. He drank. You were always crying. The girls were scared, traumatized. That didn't give you the right to take them from me." "Yes, it did." Robert raised his voice, then checked himself, glancing back at the house. "I saw what that environment was doing to them. Emma wet the bed every night from stress. Olivia had constant nightmares. Abigail stopped talking at school. They needed peace." Sarah felt as if she'd been slapped. It was true her marriage to Michael had been turbulent, but she hadn't realized the girls were so deeply affected. "I could have left him. I could have raised them on my own. With what money? You didn't have a steady job. You didn't have a place to live besides the house that belonged to Michael. How were you going to raise 3 children? That was my problem to solve. They're my daughters. And now they're mine, too." Robert shot back firmly. "I raised them for 20 years, Sarah. I was the one who stayed up when they had fevers. I helped with homework. I paid for school, college, everything. Where were you when Olivia broke her arm? At 8, where were you when Emma had appendicitis at 12? Where were you when Abigail was crying because some boy broke her heart at 16? Each word felt like a knife to Sarah's heart. She had missed all of it every important moment in her daughters' lives. And Robert was right. He had been there for everything. I was looking for them. I never stopped searching, and I was protecting them from a search that would only cause more trauma. They were happy, seraphimely happy and stable. Why should I have destroyed that? Because you had no right to make that decision. Because they had the right to know their mother was alive. Robert fell silent for a long moment, staring at the lit windows of the house where the triplets were probably having dinner. Do you want the truth? The whole truth? I do. In the early years, I thought about telling them. I considered letting them know about you when they were older, but they started calling me Dad. They started saying they loved me. They built a life where I was their father, and I fell in love with being their dad. Sarah saw vulnerability in Robert's eyes for the first time. I never had children. Sarah never married, never started a family. And suddenly, I had 3 beautiful, smart girls calling me Dad. They gave me a purpose in life I'd never felt before. So yes, I was selfish. I chose to keep the lie because I didn't want to lose them. And Michael, did he agree with this? Michael regretted it many times, especially in recent years after he stopped drinking and started thinking clearly. He wanted to tell the truth. He wanted to look for you. But I convinced him it would be cruel to the girls after so long. You had no right to decide that. For my daughters, maybe not, but we did. And now they're adults, educated, independent. They've built their lives. Do you really want to show up and destroy all that? Robert's question echoed in Sarah's mind. It was the exact dilemma that had haunted her since she found the triplets at the pharmacy. They seemed happy, stable, whole. They had a father who genuinely loved them. Would revealing the truth really do more harm than good? They have a right to know, Sarah said finally, but her voice was less firm. And you have the right to tell them, Robert admitted. But think carefully, Sarah. Think about what this will do. They'll find out the man they consider their father. Lead to them their whole lives. They'll question everything they know about their own identities. They'll be torn between the love they feel for me and the anger at being deceived. And what about me? What about my right to be their mother? What about the 20 years I lost? You'll never get those 20 years back, but you can try to build a relationship with them from here on out. Just think about whether you want to do that by destroying the family they know or by trying to become part of it. What do you mean, become part of it? You could ease into their lives, not tell them the truth right away. You could get close to them as a friend, get to know who they've become. Then, when you're sure you're ready for the consequences, you could reveal who you really are. Robert's suggestion was tempting, but Sarah felt it would mean joining the very lie that had hurt her so deeply. That would be dishonest. It would be careful. They're adults now, Sarah. They have jobs, relationships, dreams. They have boyfriends, friends, a full social life. Dropping a bomb like this on them could cause damage you can't even imagine. Sarah looked at the house where her daughters were. Through the windows, she could see movement, laughter. They really did seem happy. I need to think. Think carefully. And when you decide, let me know, because if you choose to tell the truth, I'd rather be there. They trust me. It'll be easier if I help explain what happened. Robert walked into the house, leaving Sarah alone in the backyard. She stood there, for a few minutes, listening to her daughters' voices, chatting excitedly about some work topic. They were the voices of grown women, no longer the high-pitched voices of children she held in her memory. Over the following weeks, Sarah made the decision to partially follow Robert's advice. She started visiting the pharmacy regularly, always. Buying small things, casually chatting with the triplets. She wanted to get to know them as adults before deciding how to proceed. Emma, she discovered, was the most serious of the three. She had a boyfriend named Brian, who was a dentist, and dreamed of opening her own pharmacy in a few years. She was organized, responsible, always concerned about her sisters. Olivia was the most outgoing. She told jokes to customers, hummed while working, and had contagious energy. She was engaged to a gym teacher named Jason and planned to marry at the end of the year. Abigail was the most sensitive. She liked reading romance novels during breaks and dreamed of pursuing a master's in clinical pharmacy. She was single, saying she hadn't found the right man yet. All of them spoke of Robert with genuine affection. They called him Dad naturally, talked about family dinners, about how excited he was to meet Olivia's fiancé, Jason. It was clear they had a solid, loving relationship with him. "Our dad always says our mum would be so proud of us," Emma commented. One afternoon, organizing prescriptions, he says she was a very sweet and caring woman. "What was she like?" Sarah asked, trying to sound casual. From the photo albums, she was very pretty. Brown hair, green eyes, a sweet smile. "Daddy always says we got his family's blonde hair, but her temperament." "Do you have many photos of her?" "A few. Daddy saved what he could when she passed. They're in the family album he made for us." Sarah felt her chest tighten. Robert had truly built a complete story, even with fake photos. What photos were those? Where had he gotten them? Was she young when she passed? Very young, Abigail joined the conversation. She was only 26, a pneumonia that progressed too fast. "Daddy always gets sad when he talks about it." 26, the age Sarah had been when she lost her daughters. Robert had symbolically killed the version of her that existed back then, creating a fictional death at the exact age she had been when the separation happened. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing with each conversation, Sarah uncovered more details about the life Robert had built for the triplets. He truly seemed to have been a devoted and loving father. The girls talked about family trips, special birthdays, graduations where he had proudly cheered them on. But she also discovered small details that connected her to her daughters. Emma had the same habit of biting her lip when concentrating. Olivia laughed, just like Sarah did. Abigail had the same habit of playing with her hair when nervous. These were little gestures Robert couldn't have taught or influenced. They were genetic traits, natural inheritances that connected mother and daughters despite the years of separation. One afternoon, while watching the triplets working, Sarah noticed something that made her freeze. Abigail was wearing a small, delicate necklace that she recognized immediately. It was the necklace she had bought for herself just a few months before the separation, a tiny heart-shaped pendant. Very simple but meaningful to her. How had that necklace ended up around Abigail's neck? Had Robert taken her belongings from the house when he took the girls? Why, that night, Sarah went to see Robert again. He was watering the plants in the backyard when she arrived. "Sarah, did something happen?" "Abigail was wearing a necklace today, a small golden heart. Do you know where it came from?" Robert stopped watering the plants and tensed up. "Why do you ask?" "Because it was mine. I bought that necklace just a few months before everything happened." Robert sighed and set the hose aside. "Michael took some of your things that night. The girls, clothes, toys, some keepsakes. He was angry, said you didn't deserve to have anything that reminded you of the girls." I kept it all in a box. And you gave my necklace to Abigail? No, not exactly. When they were teenagers, they found the box in the attic. They asked what. It was I told them there were some keepsakes from their mother that I'd saved. Abigail fell in love with the necklace and asked to keep it. I couldn't bring myself to say no. Sarah felt a mix of emotions. On one hand, she was touched that Abigail cherished something that had been hers. On the other, she was furious at Robert for letting Michael take her belongings. What else is in that box? Clothes, some photos, jewelry, small things. They've had access to everything since they were teens. They think they're mementos I saved. Before what they believe happened to you. Can I see? Robert hesitated. Sarah, are you sure you want to dig into this? It'll be painful. I want to see. He led her to the attic of the house. On a high shelf, there was a cardboard box labeled Mummy's Keepsakes in careful handwriting. Probably one of the triplets had written it when they were younger. Inside the box, Sarah found pieces of her. Past life, the blue blouse she had worn on the last day she saw her daughters, photos of her with the girls as babies, earrings Michael had given her on their first wedding anniversary, a journal where she had written down the triplets first. Words, do they look at this sometimes? She asked, holding a photo where she was breastfeeding all 3 babies at once. They used to more when they were teens. Now, hardly ever. But I know Abigail still comes up here sometimes when she's sad or missing you. Sarah opened the journal and read some of the notes she had made. Emma said Mama today. Olivia tried crawling to the kitchen. Abigail smiled for the first time. They were precious moments she had documented, moments her own daughters could read without knowing they were words written by their real mother. Robert, I need you to be honest with me. Do you really believe it was right to hide the truth all these years? Robert sat down on an old chair in the attic. I don't know anymore, Sarah. When they were little, I was sure I was protecting them. When they became teenagers, it was already too late to turn back. And now I know they'll be hurt with me when they find out. But I also know they'll be confused about who they really are. What if I tell them the truth myself? They won't believe you. They'll think you're some crazy woman trying to take advantage of them. I have fake birth certificates, documents that back up the story I told. It'll be your word against 20 years of evidence. Sarah realized Robert had thought of everything. He hadn't just told a lie, he had built an entire false paper trail to support it. Did you forge documents? A few. I had a friend who worked at a records office who helped me. Nothing too illegal, just adaptations of the truth. That's a crime, Robert. I know, but it was to protect them. If you want to report me, I understand, but think about the girls. If this turns into a legal scandal, they'll suffer even more. Sarah was torn between anger and compassion. Robert had committed crimes to uphold his lie, but he had also genuinely cared for the triplets with love and dedication. What do you think I should do? I think we should tell the truth together, but gradually. First to one of them, the one who's mature enough to handle the situation. Then to the other 2, and explain everything, why it happened, how much we all regret it. Do you regret it? Robert stayed silent for a long moment. I regret lying. I don't regret taking care of them. If I could go back, I'd do it differently. I'd have found a way for you to be part of their lives without them losing the stability they needed. It was the most honest answer Robert had given so far. Sarah felt she was finally seeing the real man behind the excuses. What if they get angry with you and decide to cut ties, then I'll accept it. They have the right to choose how they want to handle this. I just hope they understand that everything I did was out of love for them, even if it was wrong. Sarah looked again at the box of memories. Her daughters had grown up consulting those objects to understand who the mother they lost was, unaware that their mother was alive, searching for them, missing them every day. Robert, I've made a decision. We'll tell the truth, but my way. First, I want to get closer to them, to know them better. Then, when I feel the time is right, we'll sit all three of them down and explain everything. How much time do you need to get closer? A few months. I want them to trust me before they know who I really am. And Robert, if you lie to me even once during this process, I'll tell them everything myself, my way, understood. In the following month, Sarah became more present in the triplets' lives. She started visiting the pharmacy almost daily, always with friendly small talk. She offered to help when they were busy, brought homemade cake occasionally, and built natural connections. The triplets began to see her as a special customer, almost a friend. Sarah learned their likes, their fears, their ambitions. Emma wanted children. Soon after marrying Brian, Olivia dreamed of traveling to Europe for her honeymoon. Abigail considered getting a master's degree in New York. Each discovery was bittersweet for Sarah. On one hand, she was proud of the women her daughters had become. On the other, it hurt to know she'd missed the shaping of those personalities. One afternoon, Emma casually remarked, "Mrs. Wilson, you remind me of someone sometimes. I can't explain it, but it's a strange feeling of familiarity." Sarah's heart raced. "Oh, really? Maybe it's because I come here so often." "No, it's different. It's like I've known you from somewhere. You know when you look at someone and you're sure you've seen them before, but you can't remember where. I understand. That does happen sometimes." But Sarah knew it wasn't a coincidence. Emma was reacting to a deep, probably unconscious memory of her real mother. The other two had never shown this feeling, but Emma had always been the most observant of the three. This conversation made Sarah realize it might be time to start preparing for the revelation. Emma could be the first to know the truth, as Robert had suggested. A few weeks later, Sarah created a situation to talk to Emma alone. She stayed at the pharmacy until late, when Olivia and Abigail had already left, under the pretext of choosing vitamins. "Emma, can I ask you something a bit personal?" "Of course, Mrs. Wilson." "Do you remember anything from when you were very little, before the age of 5? Emma stopped organizing the medications and looked at Sarah with curiosity. "A few things." "Why do you ask?" "It's just that I have a granddaughter your age, and she always says she doesn't remember anything from early childhood. I'm curious about those memories." It was a lie, but a necessary one to start the conversation. "I remember some strange things. Fragments, you know. A lullaby someone used to sing, a sweet perfume, a woman's voice that wasn't my dad's." Sarah felt chills. "What kind of voice?" "Soft, tender. Sometimes I wake up feeling like I dreamed about that voice. It's weird because my mum died when I was really little, but I have these memories that don't match what my dad tells me." "What? Does your dad say?" "That my mum got very sick quickly and passed away, that she hardly spoke to us in her last days because she was too weak. But I remember conversations, laughter, someone playing with my hair." Sarah was trembling inside. Emma remembered her not consciously, but the memories were there, buried but present. "And have you ever talked to your dad about these memories?" "Yes, he says. They're confused memories mixed with dreams, that when we're very young, our minds make things up to fill the gaps. But I've always felt like there was something more. What do you mean, something more? Emma hesitated, as if revealing a secret. You know, Mrs. Wilson, sometimes I get the feeling my dad is hiding something about our mum. He talks about her, the same way every time, always the same stories. It's like he memorized a script. Emma's intuition was right. Robert had, indeed, created a script about their fictional mother and repeated it systematically. And do your sisters feel the same way? Olivia never questions it. She accepts everything Dad says without doubt. Abigail sometimes notices strange things too, but she'd rather not talk about things that might make Dad sad. Sarah realized Emma was truly the most suitable to hear the truth first. She already suspected inconsistencies in the official story. Emma, can I tell you something? But I need you to promise you'll listen to everything before reacting. Emma noticed the seriousness in Sarah's tone and stopped what she was doing completely. I'm listening. Your mother didn't die when you were little. She's alive, and she's here talking to you. The silence that followed was deafening. Emma looked at Sarah as if she hadn't understood the words. What do you mean? Your mother is alive, and she's here talking to you. I'm Sarah Wilson. I'm your mother and Olivia and Abigail's too. You were taken from me when you were 4, and Robert told you I had died so you wouldn't try to find me. Emma sat down heavily in a chair, her face pale. What are you saying? I'm Sarah Wilson. I'm your mother. You were taken from me when you were 4, and Robert told you I had died so you wouldn't try to find me. Emma began to tremble. This can't be true. This can't. It's true, Emma. I searched for you for 24 years. I never stopped looking. I found you by chance in this pharmacy a few months ago, and since then, I've been trying to figure out the best way to tell you the truth. But, But why would Dad lie about this? Why would he do something like that? It's a long and complicated story. Your real father, Michael, left me one night after a fight and took the 3 of you. Robert convinced Michael it would be better for you to stay away from me. Later, when Michael wanted to take it back, Robert said it was already too late. Emma was crying now, confused and desperate. Michael? Who's Michael? My dad is Robert. Michael was my husband, your biological father. Robert is your uncle, Michael's brother. No, that can't be. My dad never had a brother named Michael. Yes. There was, Emma. Michael died 5 years ago. He deeply regretted separating you from me, but Robert convinced him it would be harmful for you to discover the truth. Emma was in complete shock. 24 years of her life being questioned in just a few minutes. Do you have proof of this? Sarah opened her purse and pulled out an old photo, her with the triplets as babies. This is you in my arms with your sisters. You were 8 months old. Emma stared at the photo with wide eyes. The resemblance was impossible to deny. And this, Sarah showed another photo, is you wearing the lilac dress I sewed for your 4th birthday, the last birthday we spent together. The photo showed exactly the 3 girls from the picture Emma knew from home, but with Sarah present, hugging her daughters. How do you have this photo if Dad has the same one at home? Because this is the original. Robert must have made a copy and cut me out. Emma was sobbing now, holding the photos with trembling hands. My whole life is a lie. No, Emma, your life isn't a lie. Robert truly loves you. He really was a wonderful father to you all. He just, ... He made a wrong decision a long time ago and couldn't turn back. But why now? Why are you telling me this now? Because you're adults. Because you have the right to know the truth. And because I lost 20 years of your lives and don't want to lose the rest. Emma fell silent for several minutes, processing everything. Do Olivia and Abigail know? No, you're the first. I thought you'd be the most prepared to handle this, since you always suspected something was off about the story. And Dad Robert, does he know you told me? No, but he knows I was planning to. We talked about it a few months ago. You talked. He knew you were alive and didn't tell me. Anger was beginning to mix with the sadness in Emma's eyes. Emma, I know you're confused and angry. You have every right to be, but I need you to know that Robert truly loves you. He made wrong choices, but they were always motivated by love. And you, what do you want from us now? The question was direct and painful. I want to know you. I want to be part of your lives if you'll let me. I don't want to replace Robert or disrupt the family you've built. I just, ... I just want the chance to be a mother again. Emma cried harder. I don't know how to process this. I don't know if I can handle it. You don't have to decide anything now. Take all the time you need. Talk to your sisters, to Robert. To me, do what feels right. What if I decide I don't want you in my life? The question broke Sarah's heart, but she knew she had to be honest. Then I'll respect your decision. It'll hurt, but I'll respect it. Emma wiped her face with the back of her hand. I need to go home. I need to think. I need to understand what this means. Emma, please don't make any drastic decisions now. Sleep on it. Things might seem clearer tomorrow. I won't be able to sleep. How can I sleep knowing everything I believed about my life is a lie? Not everything is a lie, Emma. Robert truly loves you. He truly sacrificed his life to raise you. He truly is an important father figure to you. The only lie was about my death. Emma nodded slightly, but still looked shell-shocked. I need to go. Can I give you a ride? No, I need to walk. I need to think. Emma left the pharmacy, leaving Sarah alone with a broken heart. She had finally told the truth to one of her daughters, but she didn't know if she'd done the right thing. Emma was clearly traumatized by the revelation. That night, Sarah couldn't sleep. She kept imagining Emma arriving home, looking at Robert with different eyes, questioning the entire family dynamic she knew. Had she made a terrible mistake? The next day, Emma didn't show up at the pharmacy. Olivia and Abigail mentioned she had woken up sick and stayed home. Sarah was worried, but there was nothing she could do except wait. 2 days later, Emma finally appeared at the pharmacy, but she seemed like a different person. She was pale, with dark circles under her eyes, clearly shaken. She avoided eye contact with Sarah and barely spoke to her sisters. Emma, are you okay? Olivia asked, concerned. You've been acting strange since you got sick. I'm fine, Emma replied curtly. Sarah knew she needed to talk to Emma again, but not in front of the other two. She waited until the end of the workday and approached Emma as she was leaving. Emma, can we talk? Not here, not now. Then where? When? Emma hesitated. Tomorrow night at the town square, 7 o'clock. The next day, Sarah arrived at the square promptly. Emma was already there, sitting on a bench, staring into nothing. How are you? Sarah asked, sitting beside her. Confused, angry, sad. I don't even know where to start. Do you want me to answer any specific questions? I want you to tell me everything from the beginning. I want to know exactly how I lost my mother and got an invented story instead. Sarah took a deep breath and began to recount everything. Her marriage to Michael, the financial struggles, the fights, the night he took the triplets, the years of desperate searching, meeting Robert, the lies she uncovered. Emma listened in silence, occasionally asking pointed questions to clarify details. And Michael, what was my real father like? Michael was complicated. When he was sober, he was affectionate, playful. You adored him, but he drank too much, especially when he was stressed about money. He was never violent with you, but with me, he could be verbally aggressive. And you, what were you like as a mother? I was very young, only 22 when you were born. I did the best I could, but sometimes I felt lost. You were 3 babies at once, Emma. It was so hard to handle everything alone. Was Robert right when he said the environment wasn't good for us? Sarah hesitated. It was a hard question to answer honestly. In part, yes. The house was very tense because of the fights between me and Michael. You really were being affected, but that didn't justify separating me from you forever. I could have divorced him. I could have sought help. I could have changed things, but you didn't. I didn't get the chance. Michael took that opportunity away when he took you. Emma fell silent for a few minutes. You know what makes me the angriest, what? That Robert made me cry over the death of a mother who was alive. How many times did I grieve, wishing I'd had more time with my mother? How many times did I look at mother-daughter pairs on the street with envy? And all that time, you were here suffering, looking for me. Sarah began to cry. Emma, I'm so sorry for all of this. It's not your fault. The blame lies with Robert. And Michael, mostly Robert, who kept the lie going all these years. What do you plan to do? I don't know yet. First, I want to tell Olivia and Abigail they have the right to know, too. Then we'll see what to do about Robert. Are you going to confront him? I will, but first I want my sisters to hear the truth. I don't want them finding out by accident or in an argument. Can I help you tell them? You can, but this time I want all of us together. I want Robert there, too. I want him to explain why he did this. Are you sure? It could be a very difficult conversation. I am. 24 years of lies are enough. Emma scheduled the conversation for the following Sunday at Robert's house. She told her sisters they needed to discuss something important as a family and asked everyone to be present. When Sunday arrived, Sarah was extremely nervous. It would be the first time she saw her 3 daughters together, knowing Emma was aware of her identity. It would also be her first direct confrontation with Robert. About the lie. She arrived at the house on Maple Street promptly at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, as they had agreed. Robert opened the door with a tense expression. Emma had warned him they needed to talk about important family matters. Good afternoon, Robert, Sarah said. Sarah, did Emma tell the others? Not yet. We'll do it together, as you suggested. In the living room, Olivia and Abigail looked visibly confused. Emma was serious, avoiding direct eye contact with Robert. Emma, what's going on? Olivia asked. Why did you call a family meeting? And why is Mrs. Wilson here? Emma glanced at Sarah, who nodded encouragingly. Olivia, Abigail, I need to tell you something. Something that will change everything you know about our family. You're scaring me, Abigail said. Our mother didn't die when we were little. She's alive, and she's in this room. Olivia and Abigail looked round, bewildered. What do you mean? Olivia asked. Emma pointed at Sarah. Mrs. Wilson is our mother. Our real father was Michael, Robert's brother. Robert lied to us our entire lives about where we came from. The silence that followed was absolute. Olivia and Abigail stared at Sarah as if she were a ghost. Is this true? Abigail asked, her voice trembling as she looked at Robert. Robert lowered his head. It's true. What do you mean it's true? Olivia exploded. How could you lie to us about our mother being alive? I can explain. Explain what Abigail was starting to cry. How do you explain 20 years of lies? How do you explain letting us believe our mother was dead? I did it to protect you. Protect us from what? Emma asked angrily. From having a mother, from going back to an environment that was hurting you. Sarah and Michael fought every day. You were always crying, scared, traumatized. I took you away to give you a better life. But you had no right to make that decision, Olivia shouted. You had no right to erase our mother from our lives. Sarah tried to intervene. Girls, please, let's talk calmly. Calmly. Abigail turned. To her, how can you expect us to be calm? We just found out our whole lives are built on a huge lie. I know you're upset. Upset, Olivia laughed bitterly. We're devastated. Do you know how many times I cried, wishing I'd known my mother? How many times I envied friends who had living mothers, and me? Abigail sobbed. How many times did I wear your necklace, thinking it was a keepsake from my dead mother? How many times did I go up to the attic to look at your photos, trying to imagine what you were like? Sarah was crying now, too. Girls, I searched for you all these years. I never stopped looking. I never stopped loving you. Then why didn't you find us sooner? Emma asked. Because Robert and Michael hid you from me. Because they moved you to another town, changed your names, made fake documents. Is that true, Robert? Olivia asked. Robert nodded miserably. You changed our names? Abigail asked, horrified. Just the last names, Robert murmured, to make it harder to find you. My God, Emma said. What else have you hidden from us? Nothing else. I swear I haven't hidden anything else. How can we believe? You, Olivia asked. You lied to us for 20 years. How do we know you're not lying now? The argument continued for hours. The triplets alternated between anger, sadness, and confusion. Robert tried to justify himself, but his explanations sounded weaker by the minute. Sarah attempted to mediate, but realized her presence was only making things worse. I think I should leave, Sarah finally said. You need to work this out as a family first. What family? Abigail asked bitterly. The family built on lies. Abigail, Robert truly loves. You, that's not a lie. He raised you with care, gave you a good life. The love you feel for him is real, but how can we trust him after this? Emma asked. I don't know if you can, but I know you have to try, because, regardless of the lies, you've been a family for 20 years. Sarah left the house, leaving the triplets and Robert to sort out their conflict. She knew revealing the truth had been necessary, but she also knew it had caused a deep rift in the family Robert had built. In the following days, the triplets didn't show up at the pharmacy. Sarah heard from other employees that they had requested a week off to handle personal matters. Robert also didn't come to work. The whole neighborhood was buzzing about the Miller family crisis, though no one knew exactly what was happening. Sarah felt guilty and anxious. She had done the right thing by telling the truth, But was the price too high? The triplets were hurting, Robert was hurting, and she was hurting too. Seeing the chaos her revelation had caused. A week later, Emma called her. "Can we meet? Just the two of us." Of course. Where? At the park, same place as before. When she arrived, Sarah found Emma coma, but still visibly shaken. "How are you all holding up? Trying to process everything?" Olivia is really confused. One minute she's furious at Robert, the next she feels guilty for being angry. Abigail is the most upset. She feels betrayed, especially because she always had a stronger connection to the memories of our dead mother. And Robert is destroyed. He realizes he might lose us, and he's desperate. He's been crying, apologizing, trying to explain his reasons. But forgiving 20 years of lies is hard. And you, how are you? I'm conflicted. On one hand, I'm happy too. No, my mother is alive. On the other, I'm angry about all the lost time and confused about how to move forward. Emma, what have you all decided to do? We haven't decided anything yet, but I wanted to ask you something. What do you expect from us? What do you mean? Do you want us to cut ties with Robert? Do you want us to move in with you? Do you want us to act like you're our mother after 20 years? They were difficult but fair questions. Emma, I don't expect. Anything specific? I know I can't get back the 20 years we lost. I know Robert is your father figure and always will be. I know you're adults with your own lives. I just want the chance to get to know you as adults and maybe gradually build a friendship first. And then, who knows, a mother-daughter relationship. You don't want us to call you Mum. I do, of course, I do. But I'll understand if you can't. I'll understand if it's too strange. Robert was your father for 20 years. You can have two father figures, him as the father of your heart and Michael as your biological father. The same way you can see me as your biological mother and still hold on to the memory of the mother Robert created. Emma seemed to consider this. Olivia wants to know more about Michael. She wants to know what our real father was like. I can tell you everything you want to know. I have photos of him, letters he wrote. I can take you to the places we lived. And Abigail wants to know about you. About what our life was like before the separation. About the memories she has but can't identify. I can also tell you everything. I can show photos, share stories, explain the habits you had when you were little. And I want to understand why you didn't fight harder to find us. The question was painful but fair. Emma, I did fight. I fought so hard. I searched every town in the area. I hired detectives. I placed ads in newspapers. I went to police stations. But Robert had changed your last names, moved you to another city, created a new identity for you all. And I didn't have the money to hire more thorough investigations. Why? Didn't you have money? Because I worked as a cleaner. I earned very little. I spent almost everything I had left searching for you, but it wasn't enough for expensive investigations. Did you never think about moving on, remarrying, having other children? Never. I couldn't. You were my whole life. How could I replace you? Emma stayed silent for a few minutes. Sarah, can I still call you by your name? Or would you prefer I try calling you Mum? Call me whatever feels comfortable. Sarah, I want to try. I want to try to know you, to build a relationship. But it'll be hard. It'll take time, and I don't know if Olivia and Abigail will be able to. I understand, and I'm grateful for the chance. But there's one condition. What? You need to make peace with Robert. I'm not saying forgive him completely, but find a way to coexist. Because even with anger, you love him. He's been your father for 20 years. If you want to be part of our lives, you'll have to accept that he's part of it too. Emma, I don't want to take Robert out of your lives. Despite everything, I see he loves you and took good care of you. I'm willing to find a way to coexist. Then let's try slowly, one step at a time. It took a few months for the situation to stabilize. Olivia was the second to accept a gradual relationship with Sarah. Abigail took longer, but eventually she also agreed to try. The relationship with Robert was more complicated. There were many difficult conversations, moments of anger and resentment. But gradually, everyone realized they needed to find a way to live peacefully together. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like the video and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting. Outdow continuing, 6 months after the revelation. The family dynamic had completely changed but found a new balance. The triplets maintained their relationship with Robert but now knew the truth about their origins. Sarah gradually became part of their lives, starting as a special friend and slowly being accepted as a maternal figure. Robert had to deal with the broken trust, but he also realized he'd gained something unexpected. The chance to share the responsibility and love for the triplets with someone else who genuinely loved them. On the first Christmas after the revelation, everyone gathered at the house on Maple Street. It was strange and difficult, but also hopeful. Sarah brought gifts she had bought every year they were apart, 24 presents for each daughter, stored in her home with the hope of one day giving them. I bought a birthday gift and a Christmas gift for each of you every year, she explained, showing the carefully labeled boxes with dates. I didn't know if I'd ever get to give them, but I couldn't stop. The triplets cried, seeing the physical proof of Sarah's love all those years apart. 24 years of saved gifts represented 24 years of hope kept alive. Emma, who was engaged to Brian, asked Sarah to be part of the wedding preparations. I'm not asking you to replace Robert as the one who walks me down the aisle, she explained, but I want you to be involved in the planning. I want you to be one of the first important people in my adult life to fully participate. Olivia, in turn, wanted Sarah to help her better understand her own personality. I've always felt I had traits that didn't come from Robert or the memories we had of the mother he described. Now I understand they're your traits. I want to know where my way of being comes from. Abigail was the one who took the longest to open up, but when she did, it was profound. I want you to tell me about every day of my first 4 years of life. I want to recover as much as possible of the lost time through your memories. Sarah spent months telling detailed stories about each phase of the triplets' development, how Emma was the first to walk, how Olivia was the first to talk, how Abigail was the first to show interest in books, little details only a present mother could remember. Robert sometimes joined these conversations, adding details about the personalities each developed after age 4. Slowly, a new family dynamic was being built, where the painful past coexisted with a hopeful present. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. There were moments of tension, especially when practical questions about the future arose. Emma wanted both Sarah and Robert to walk her down the aisle at her wedding. Olivia wanted to include Sarah in her family planning, asking for motherhood advice. Abigail wanted Sarah to help her financially with the master's degree she planned to pursue. These requests stirred jealousy and insecurity in Robert, who feared losing his special place in the triplets' lives. There were several discussions about boundaries, roles, and expectations. "Robert, I'm not trying to replace you," Sarah said during one of these tense conversations. "I'm trying to find my own place in their lives. There can be room for two parents in an adult's life, but what if they start seeing me differently? What if they realize you would have been a better mother than I was a father? That won't happen. You raised them beautifully. They're strong, intelligent, caring women because of the love and upbringing you gave them. I can add to their lives, but I can't change who they already are, and who they are is because of your work as their father." These conversations helped Robert see that Sarah wasn't a threat, but a positive addition to the family they had built. A year after the revelation, the triplets threw Sarah a surprise party, her first Mother's Day as an officially recognized mother in over 2 decades. "We know we've missed many Mother's Days together," Emma said during the celebration, "but from now on, we want to celebrate every one with you," and with Robert, too, Olivia added, "because he also deserves recognition. He was both mother and father to us for so long." Robert, who was at the party, was moved by the acknowledgement. Despite all the mistakes and lies, the triplets still valued the sacrifices he'd made for them. "Sarah," Robert said during the party, "I want to apologize publicly in front of the girls, our friends, everyone. I made a terrible mistake keeping you apart. I hope one day you can fully forgive me." "Robert, I've already forgiven you. I haven't forgotten, but I've forgiven. You took care of my daughters when I couldn't. You loved them when I wasn't there. That means far more than the mistakes you made." The reconciliation wasn't immediate, but it was the start of a new phase, where everyone was committed to building a healthy, extended family. 2 years after the revelation, Emma got married. At the altar, she was escorted by both Robert and Sarah, one on each side, symbolizing the union of the two parts of her life. "Today, I'm not losing a daughter," Robert said in his speech during the celebration. "I'm gaining a son-in-law and confirming that our family can grow and adapt without losing the love that binds us." "And I," Sarah added in her own speech, "am living a dream I've held for 24 years, seeing my daughter marry happily, surrounded by people who love her." Emma's wedding was a milestone in the family's reconciliation. It showed that it was possible to create new traditions that included both the past and the present. Olivia married the following year, and by then the dynamic had already become more natural. Robert and Sarah worked together on the planning, each contributing their own expertise and experiences. Abigail completed a master's degree with honors and decided to open a specialty pharmacy for compounded medications. Robert helped with the initial investment, and Sarah assisted with planning and organization. It was a project that symbolized the new family, each contributing their best for collective success. 3 years after the revelation, Sarah finally felt secure that she had found her place in her daughters' lives. She wasn't the mother whose life had been interrupted at 26, nor was she a stranger trying to force a relationship. It was something new, a mother who had reunited with her grown daughters and was building a relationship based on the present, not the past. The triplets, in turn, had integrated both versions of their personal history. They had happy childhood memories with Robert and were creating new ones with Sarah. They didn't deny the painful past, but they also didn't let it define their future. Robert had learned to share the triplets' love without feeling like he was losing something. On the contrary, he realized he was gaining a partner in the task of loving and supporting their daughters. One day, 4 years after the revelation, Emma arrived at Abigail's pharmacy with special news. "I'm pregnant." Olivia and Abigail screamed with joy. It was the family's first grandchild, and everyone was thrilled. "Is it a boy or a girl?" Abigail asked. "We don't know yet. But if it's a girl, we want to name her Sarah. And if it's a boy, Michael, we want to honor the grandparents we never really got to know." Sarah was working at the pharmacy that day. She had become an informal employee, helping whenever she could, and nearly fainted when she heard the news. "Are you sure? You don't have to do that." "We're sure," Olivia confirmed. "Michael is our biological father. You're our mother. It's only fair our children carry those names." "And Robert, how does he feel about it?" "Well," Emma smiled. "He said, if it's a boy and we name him Michael, he wants the middle name to be Robert. And if it's a girl and we name her Sarah, he wants the middle name to be Roberta. That way, the child will carry the names of all their grandparents." It was the perfect solution for a family that had learned to embrace complexity rather than deny it. 6 months later, Michael Robert was born, a beautiful blue-eyed boy, just like all the women in the family. At the hospital, Sarah held her first grandchild in her arms and felt her life had finally found the fulfillment she had sought for so many years. "He looks like Emma when she was a baby," she remarked, studying the newborn's delicate features. "And Emma looked like you," Robert said, watching the scene with affection. It's amazing how genes repeat through generations. It was the first time Robert and Sarah had naturally commented on the physical similarities between generations without awkwardness or jealousy. In the months that followed, caring for the baby became an activity that brought the extended family even closer together. Sarah could finally embrace her maternal instincts through her grandson. Robert shared the experience of being a grandfather with someone who understood the depth of that love. Emma watched the two of them caring for Michael Robert and said to her sisters, "Just look at this. Our two fathers taking care of our son. Together, who would have thought it was possible?" "It's strange, but beautiful," Olivia agreed. "It shows love can overcome even the most painful lies," Abigail added. "And it shows family isn't just about blood or upbringing. It's a choice. Robert chose to love us. Mrs. Wilson never stopped loving us. We chose to forgive and rebuild. Robert will grow up in a family that proves love always finds a way." A year later, Olivia also became pregnant. This time, everyone was involved from the start. Sarah helped with morning sickness, Robert assembled the crib, and the sisters planned the baby shower. Sarah Roberta was born, a girl with golden hair and a strong personality from day one. "Two grandchildren who carry the names of our story," Sarah said, holding the baby. "Michael, Robert, and Sarah Roberta. It's like our family is finally complete." "It's not complete yet," Abigail said mysteriously. "Why?" Emma asked. "Because I want to be a mother, too. And when I am, my child will be named Robert Michael if it's a boy, or Roberta Michaela if it's a girl. That way, all the important names in our family will be represented in the next generation." Abigail had started dating a pharmacist she met during her master's program, and the relationship was getting serious. "And you know what?" she continued. "My children will grow up knowing the whole story from the beginning. They'll know about the separation, the lies, the reunion. They'll learn that families can be complicated, but love is always worth it." 5 years after the truth came out, Sarah finally felt at peace with her life. She had regained her daughters, found her place in the family, and seen grandchildren born who carried her name. She hadn't gotten back the 20 lost years, but she had gained something new, a family that proved love could survive even the greatest betrayals. Robert, in turn, had learned that love sometimes means sharing. He had shared the triplets with Sarah, and discovered his love for them hadn't diminished. Instead, it had grown as he saw their happiness in having a complete family. The triplets had become women who understood life is complex. People make mistakes, but forgiveness and love can overcome almost any obstacle. This was a family unlike anything in psychology or sociology textbooks, a family that had been broken and rebuilt, deceived and rediscovered, separated and reunited. But it was a real family, built on the conscious choice to love despite imperfections. One Sunday afternoon, 6 years after the truth was revealed. The whole family gathered in the backyard of the house on Maple Street. Sarah and Robert played with their grandchildren on the playground they'd built together. Emma, Olivia, and Abigail talked about their future plans. The triplets' husbands played cards at a nearby table. "You know something," Emma said, watching the scene. "I could never imagine what having a complete family would feel like. I always felt like something was missing, but I didn't know what." "And now you do?" Olivia asked. "It was her," Emma pointed to Sarah, "our mother. But not just that, it was the feeling that our story was whole, that we finally knew who we really were." "I agree," Abigail said. "For years, I felt like a puzzle with missing pieces. Now all the pieces are in place, even the ones that hurt to fit. Especially those," Olivia added. "The hard parts of our story are what make the good parts even more precious." At that moment, Michael Roberts stumbled and began to cry. Immediately, both Sarah and Robert rushed to comfort him. There was no rivalry or jealousy, just two people who loved the child, trying to help. "Look at this," Emma smiled at her sisters. "Our son has 4 grandparents, Sarah, Robert, and Brian's parents, and he doesn't even know how special that is yet. He'll understand when he grows up," Abigail said. "And he'll learn that big families mean more love, not more complications." By the end of that Sunday, as everyone was saying goodbye, Sarah held Robert's hand for a moment. "Thank you. For what?" "For taking care of them when I couldn't, for being the father they needed, for letting me be part of their lives now. Thank you, too. For what? For forgiving me, for sharing their love with me, for showing that it's possible to rebuild a family even after it's been broken." It was a simple conversation, but one that symbolized years of emotional work, forgiveness, growth, and adaptation. That night, Sarah returned to her small house, now renovated and decorated with photos of her daughters and grandchildren. With a heart at peace, she had spent years dreaming of this reunion, imagining how it would be. The reality had been harder and more beautiful than any dream. 7 years after the truth came out, during the triplets' birthday, now celebrated every year with a big family gathering, Robert gave a speech that surprised everyone. 7 years ago, our family went through a transformation no one expected. We learned that lies, even well-intentioned ones, always have consequences. But we also learned that true love is stronger than any lie. He looked at Sarah, who was sitting beside their daughters. "Sarah, when you came into our lives, I was afraid of losing the girls, afraid they'd find out I wasn't a perfect father, afraid their love for me would lessen. But I learned something important. Love doesn't shrink when it's shared. It multiplies." "And I," Sarah replied, "learned that being a mother isn't just about carrying a child or raising them from birth. It's also about choosing to love unconditionally, even after years apart. It's accepting that others can love your children just as much as you do. It's understanding that family is far more complex and beautiful than any traditional definition. The triplets were crying tears of joy. We learned, Emma said, that it's possible to have more than one father, more than one version of our story, more than one way to love. We learned that forgiveness isn't forgetting what happened, but choosing to build something new from what was broken. And our children, Olivia added, watching Michael, Robert, and Sarah Roberta playing in the garden, will grow up in a family that proves love always finds a way. That lies can hurt, but the truth, no matter how painful, always sets you free. And that, Abigail concluded, some of the best things in life come after the worst. If Robert hadn't lied, maybe we'd never have learned the value of truth. If Sarah hadn't suffered so much searching for us, maybe we wouldn't know how much she loves us. If our family hadn't been broken, maybe we'd never have learned how to rebuild it even stronger. That night, after everyone had left, Sarah stayed to help Robert clean up. "Robert, can I ask you something?" "Of course. Do you regret it? Everything that happened, the choices you made?" Robert stopped washing the dishes and thought for a long moment. "It's a hard question. I regret lying. I regret keeping you apart. I regret making the girls believe you had died. But I don't regret loving them. I don't regret raising them. And in a strange way, I don't regret the path that brought us here. Why not? Because if everything had happened differently, maybe we wouldn't have ended up here. Maybe the girls wouldn't be the incredible women they are today. Maybe you and I would never have learned to work together as a family. Maybe love wouldn't have been tested and proven the way it was." Sarah agreed. "I wouldn't change a thing now, either. I'd go through it all again if I knew it would lead to this ending." "Do you think it's the ending?" "No, I think it's the beginning. The beginning of a new story for our family, a story where all truths are known, where all loves are recognized, where all forgiveness has been given." And she was right. It truly was just the start of a new chapter, where the family that had been torn apart by lies was now united by truths, conscious choices, and genuine love. 10 years after the truth came out, the family had grown even more. Abigail had married and had twins, Robert, Michael, and Roberta Michaela, as she'd promised. Emma had 2 more children. Olivia was pregnant again. The triplets' pharmacy had expanded to 3 locations. Robert had retired and helped take care of the grandchildren. Sarah had left her job as a cleaner and now worked part-time helping her daughters with the business and part-time as a full-time grandmother at a family gathering to celebrate the 10-year reunion. Emma made a special proposal. "I want us to do something to mark this occasion, something that shows how our family has transformed." "What do you have in mind?" Abigail asked. "I want us to plant a tree in the backyard, a tree that grows alongside our children, and every year, on the anniversary of our reunion, the whole family gathers under that tree to share updates from the year and reaffirm our commitment to always choosing love." "That's a beautiful idea," Olivia agreed. "And I want us to engrave a plaque," Emma continued, "that says, 'Wilson Miller family, broken in 2001, rebuilt in 2025, strengthened forever.'" Robert and Sarah exchanged glances. It was the first time anyone had suggested formalizing the union of their last names, acknowledging that they were now truly one family. "Wilson Miller?" Robert asked. "Wilson for Sarah, Miller for you. We're daughters to both of you. Our children are grandchildren to both. It makes sense for us to have a family name that represents that." And so it was done. The tree was planted. The plaque was placed, and a new family tradition was born. In the years that followed, the tree grew alongside the children. Every reunion, anniversary, everyone gathered beneath it for a special ceremony where each family member shared the joys and challenges of the past year. Michael, Robert, now 5, always asked why that date was so important. His mother simply explained that it was the day Grandma Sarah had reunited with her daughters after being apart for so long. "But why were you separated?" he'd ask. "Because sometimes people make mistakes," Emma would say. "But what matters is that when we realize those mistakes, we try to fix them, and that we never stopped loving each other, even when we were apart. And Grandpa Robert knew where you were the whole time. He did, and he took very good care of us, but he forgot to tell Grandma Sarah where we were. It was a big mistake, but he learned and apologized, and you forgave him. We did."